Matthew 23, 38 and 39 tells us the reason why the Jewish nation was rejected. "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together." This is Jesus speaking. "As a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. See, your house." Before this, when Jesus entered Jerusalem in the triumphal entry, it says, this is Matthew 21, it says, Jesus entered the temple of God, and the money changers were there, and he says, "Get out of my house." But now, after telling this series of parables about how the Jewish nation rejected him, Jesus said to them, "Your house is left unto you desolate." In other words, the Jerusalem temple no longer had any protection. Probation closed. And in the year 70, the Romans came, and there was no shelter. The city was destroyed. And that's what Daniel says. He says, "The people of the prince who shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined." See the word desolations there? You know what abomination of desolation is? The abomination leads to desolation. That's what it means. Now let's notice Luke 21:20. This is going to really get interesting now. Luke 21 verse 20 is a parallel chapter to Matthew 24 and Mark 13. In other words, each chapter has details that the other chapter doesn't have. Now, Matthew says when you see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, of which Daniel wrote, Luke says something almost totally different. Or I would say totally different. He says in Luke 21 verse 20, "But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that its desolation is near." So what is the abomination of desolation when you compare Matthew with Luke? Armies. Which armies? When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know that its desolation or destruction is near. What is it that we're going to see? The Roman armies that besieged Jerusalem. What did Jesus tell his followers to do when they saw the abomination of desolation? He told them to flee, because the city is going to be destroyed. In other words, the abomination, I'm going to explain what it means right now. The abomination was the omen that the city was about to be destroyed. The desolation is the destruction, and the abomination is the sign that shows that it's going to be destroyed, and the faithful in the city need to flee. So let me ask you this. Is the abomination of desolation something that was placed inside the city? No. It was placed where? It says when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, not in the city, but surrounded by armies, know that its destruction is near.